Talitha Kumi, which means, little girl, I say to you, arise. Okay, that's fine, but it's a paraphrase, because in Aramaic, Talitha Kumi doesn't mean, little girl, I say to you, arise. It's not what it means, literally. Now, as I said, if you want to paraphrase it, yeah. Talitha Kumi in the Aramaic literally means, little lamb, it's time to get up. That's different. Little lamb, and in fact, this is what's interesting, is he said, little lamb, it's time to wake up. Because remember, what did he tell the mourners downstairs when he went up there? She's not dead, she's only asleep. So why would he not say, little lamb, it's time to wake up? And, and here he is, a bachelor, 33 years old, He had younger siblings, but there's a compassion. There's a part of the grieving process that he illustrates there, and then obviously with Lazarus. Well, the other thing I want you to notice, and here again we look at example after example of this, and that is Jesus will go on to show that people matter as he humbles himself to others. And there's an interesting sidebar incident in John chapter 12, right over the heels of Lazarus being raised from the dead. They're having Jesus in their home, and if you remember, it's there that Mary takes that ointment and that perfume and pours it on Jesus' feet. And the Bible doesn't go into a lot of discussion here, but a pint of nard, pure nard, as John tells us, was an expensive perfume. It was probably a family inheritance that she breaks out here. John does tell us that it cost a year's salary, and she breaks it and she pours it over Jesus' feet, and Jesus could have very easily said, "No, you don't have to do that. That's not why I did it," But he very graciously allows her to do that, and in so doing, in doing that, he sets an example of how it is that we can learn to accept things from other people. Sometimes we get drawn into what's this false humility. Somebody will give you a compliment, and you'll kind of cock your head and say, "Oh, come on." No, the thing to do is to just thank them. Just say, "Well, thank you." That means a lot. We can see through that false humility in each other. We can see through it pretty quickly. And Jesus again sets the example here. And not only, by the way, if we're keeping the chapter divisions in sequence, not only did he express humility in his ability to receive from other people, but look at the 13th chapter. He also humbles himself to serve others. Now, I'll go ahead and tell you, we're not going to get through this of the 13th chapter in 1 week. So I'm just letting you know. There's just so much there. And in fact, I think it was Steve Smith that touched on this 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, about in John 13 and verses 14 and 15. And Jesus said, if I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, then you also ought to wash one another's feet. And then he says, I've set you as an example that you should do as I've done to you. Now, by the way, did he mean by that we should be willing to serve him? No, that wasn't the example. That's easy. If Jesus were to walk in here tonight, I don't think there's any of us that would have any difficulty in trying to do something for him. We would do that with anybody that we deemed above us. Socially, monetary, that's just our nature. We don't have any problem serving people that we think are above us. We certainly don't have any problem serving people that we think are a couple of rungs beneath us. And we have a very strong benevolent program, and we see this at the Thanksgiving food appeal in the fall, and Christmas coalition, and we get a really, really good feeling when we reach down and serve people that are beneath us or less fortunate than we are. Neither one of those are the issue. The issue is when I'm called upon to serve you, and we're equals. I'm no better than you, and you're no better than me. But Jesus says you serve each other. I see this in families, and this is, you would expect this. It's not difficult for children to do things for their parents. It's not a challenge for children to kind of come together and say, we need to do this, we need to take care of this for my mom and dad. And my mom and dad live over in Huntsville, and I love them to death because and I teach in West Huntsville on Monday nights, and they'll call, and mother say, what are you doing? I say, well, I'm going to class. Well, would you swing by? Well, you just don't swing by South Huntsville, It's easier now because they've finished the 4-lane over the mountain, but it's usually, need you to get up in the attic and get something. Well, I don't debate that. I don't, call my sister or my brother and say, why am I the one that gets stuck doing that? Because no, you don't do that. By the same token, every parent and grandparent in here would do anything in the world for those children, for your children or your grandchildren. That's not the issue. The challenge is when, as children, we are called upon to serve each other. See, that's what he's getting at. And there are some things that you have done for other people and that other people have done for you, and they're not even aware of how significant that is. And you can say to them, it mattered when you did this for me. And they may not even know it. And I'll guarantee you have done so many things for other people, and you're not even aware of it. I want you to listen as we close tonight how Paul puts this in perspective. And we were in this text, 3 or 4 months ago on Sunday morning in 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verses 14 and 15. And it has to do with the results, I guess, when we let people know how much we value them and how much they matter. In kind of a concluding statement, Paul says, and I love this, but thanks be to God who always leads us in triumph in Christ and manifests through us the sweet aroma of the knowledge of him in every place. Now that, if he'd have stopped right there, that would have been enough. But look at the last part. For we are a fragrance of Christ to God among those who are being saved and among those who are perishing. And that last phrase means that we're trying to be the sweet smell of Christ, not only to those who are fellow believers, but then that last phrase, among those who are perishing, but also to those who are unbelievers. And so we do this for everyone. And we don't have a criteria. We don't have a set of rules that we do for just us, but we do it for everybody. And so what we're going to see in the weeks to come is that Jesus was constantly reaching out to others regardless of how great or how low or how rich or how poor. It didn't matter. No person was beyond his reach. And just the scant summary that we've done tonight in the Gospel of John gives you, I think, a feel for that. So if you have an opportunity through the course of this next week, spend a little time in the opening parts of John's Gospel. And the thing is, every single person that Jesus came in contact with, they always knew that they mattered to him. That's the amazing thing to me. That's what I want you to grasp through the next 3 or 4 Wednesday nights is they knew that. And this is one of those aha moments that probably a lot of people may not have ever had. But for the longest time, and you could study the Gospels, and I would read, various gospel accounts, and then you had that first year, that year of obscurity, and that second year of popularity where Mark and Luke both are very clear to point out just the multitudes of people that were following him. And then, of course, that third year, things began to began to dwindle as far as that's concerned. But I never could figure out how, for the longest time, how Jesus could garner, because he never traveled more than 20 miles from where he grew up, except to go to Passover in Jerusalem. He never strayed more than 20 miles, and yet the impact, and it finally dawned on me, and it was an aha moment for me. It may not have been for you, but it dawned on me that Jesus conveyed to any and everybody that he cared about them, and they knew it. And the troubling thing to me is every time I read the gospel accounts, and it'll happen again as we work through John, the people that Jesus tried to avoid are usually the kind of people that I'm trying to impress. And the people that I'd rather just not deal with were the very people that Jesus intentionally went after. And every time I read that, I'm convicted by it. So let's do that, and we'll start in earnest then, Lord willing, this time next week. So spend a little time in John's Gospel, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week.